This is part 2 of Inaya's episode, where we talk about her work with refugee camps. She owned, managed, and run the refugee camps, and she talks about the challenges that she experienced there, but also the joys that she got from it. Some of the challenges included language barriers, cultural barriers, and even some of the beautiful moments were listening to the stories of the refugees and being able to be a part of their journey of transitioning into their new lives. So stay tuned, enjoy the episode, and drop a comment letting me know what you think. Can you tell us our listeners, a little bit about you choosing to delve into the refugee camps? Because that's something else that when I read, I was like, wow. Was this one of those things that you sought out in order to see that divine side of the human experience, the human life? Were you trying to seek a certain answer when you decided to do this? Or were you just trying to explore something different?
Yeah. Oh, first of all, I worked full time in university by that time as a implementing entrepreneurship in a university, and my husband had refugee camp, not a refugee camp, but a youth hostel.
Yeah.
And all those people were rushing into Sweden as refugees. And so he said, okay, I have a camp that can store 84 person. May we do it, a refugee camp?
Right.
Maybe we make it. And so I was there day one and invited the people coming with buses coming there.
Yeah.
And it was, I was there building up all what's needed there, all the beds, all the cupboards, different things, and sent love and painted the rooms and just sent love because I knew that I needed. I just entered the field of this hostel. And after half a year, little more than half a year, my husband had a heart attack, and there was a very hard degree of it was like 95%, that was lost. So I had to take over that part of 100% in the refugee camp and working in the university at the same time. And I dropped my educations that I had and left them to other people and learned them up. So I had then I had full time in a refugee camp. When you are full time, it's like 3 days, 24/7, and then rest 3.5 days, and then again coming there and working with the other part. And in the other part, I start to write my book. And because I had so much knowledge about from the interplay with entrepreneurship and innovation and religion, because there was so much about religion in this place, to understand religion that I couldn't understand before I met the Arabs. And it's also so interesting. I traveled the world so widely in so many countries and lived in different countries, but I never was in Inner Africa or in any Arab country. And there they came to me.
Imagine that. And they came to you in such a capacity, right? They're vulnerable.
Yeah.
They're in need of your resources, your time, your love, your energy.
Right.
And at the same time, when there is so much of that codependency, in a way, you're also learning a certain level of depth. So you
And
didn't have to go there
borders.
to exactly.
Yeah. Borders
Wow.
and loving borders.
Yes.
The best thing with it was, there came families, there were kids there, and I love kids, and kids loves me. So they come to the reception, and the reception had lots of glass windows all around, and so people were seeing those kids playing, drawing, having fun, interplaying with each other, and I was the extra mother. And it started, for the people coming, having this suffer, it's like seeing the future hope. Their hope is the children. And I could understand them properly because I have been through the dark night of the soul, and I could share my story with them, and they understood that I'm not someone else than them, that I have been in their situation, but in another way. So
Yeah.
it was very, very, it was a perfect match actually to have that
Yeah, yeah,
camp.
yeah. Tell me a little bit more about this camp. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced?
Well, the biggest challenges was following the rules.
Okay.
Actually, people were smoking inside, and the fire alarm goes off, and people were, and they do to understand the borders and the love, but and the love field in it. Of course, I also had big things between. There were two Russian guys that took drugs, and it's illegal in Sweden, all drugs, but they had drugs, and they were so aggressive, and they were Christian, and they hated the Arabs. And one day I was called from one of uh, of the Arabs that I have to come. They have called the police, but one of the Russian guys have kicked one of the door windows, that have these sharp
Mm.
glasses, and was running around and trying to kill people. Mm, So I came there I came before the policeman, and I made some paradox, because the paradox was needed. First, I came and people got more silent because they all had some kind of respect for me. Also, the Russian guys. So when I came, they were stopped, and I start to accuse the Arabs because I know they were the other. So it will quiet the other. So I
Yeah.
start to say, "What are you doing? You are a mob. You are 50 people here, and they are only two." And I was like, and they have blood on their hands, the Russian guys,
All
and
right.
because of they had their glasses, and
Yeah.
the glass, parts
Yeah.
of the glass. And I said, yeah, I asked her what happened here, and say, "Yeah, we don't feel safe here." The Russian guys say, and say, "Okay, come with me to the reception." I took them to the reception, and all the other was outside and feel they will kill me.
Oh my
Policemen
gosh.
came into the place, and they after some time they realized they have to take those guys away from the camp and to send them to two different places in other
Wow.
places in Sweden. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the worst time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So really
was.
some aggression happening there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There were also, but there were more stillness. And what made the stillness is the family feeling that we created from start. Because when new people, always people were coming and going, and were about 14 nationalities, and with their different worldview and religions.
Yeah.
But always when there came new people, when people left, there came new, and when new people came, the one who stayed there came and helped them with their luggage, and because they wanted to have this kind of home place, it was their only home. So
Hmm.
everyone was kind of keen of helping the state of harmony as much as it could in the
Right.
place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating because they really come from, a place of very adversity. They've
Mm.
probably taken a lot of hardship to even get there in the first place. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like even though there's a lot of trauma behind, they're also very appreciative that there is someone who's providing them a place to stay and giving them
Yeah.
a lifestyle. And so it's again that dualism, right? Where on one
Mhm.
hand it's
Right.
this is how I feel, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm going through my trauma, and on the other hand it's but I'm here and I'm
Mm.
safe and I'm
Mm.
protected and I appreciate it. And so kind of balancing the two. And then again there's the miscommunication because of the language barriers, the lack
That
of
is one
understanding
thing.
of the right.
One
I would
thing is so
imagine.
good because they were really language barriers.
Right.
My English is not perfect, but they were often doesn't have any of it. Some of them had, and they were like,
Right.
yeah, the one that came to help the others. But what it made is that I had really to meet them by the heart and listen carefully, and we met each other by heart before our brain, and we wouldn't if we had the same language.
Right.
And they always had to come to me for calling for dentist, or paying a bill for something, or
Yeah.
because they need my help. So we always had this interconnection by heart, because it was the main language that we could use.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
so true. No, that's really amazing, honestly. I can't imagine. You probably also saw a lot of pain. You probably also
Yeah.
delved very deep into a lot of their personal family traumas, having to
Yeah.
know and help them processing papers and documents to be able
Mm.
to live there. Also
Mm.
required you to know a little bit about their background. Many of them coming from war-ridden backgrounds. What were their backgrounds mostly like?
Yeah. First of all, migration had all the texts about them. It's not for me to read them. So I
Okay,
had their own stories, and I'm
right.
not interplaying with decisions or anything
Mm.
about their staying, and that was good. Well, some of them came from the war in Syria and in Eritrea. So, but there are also people from at that time from Ukraine, and people and the government say no, there are no war there, but they came. But there were also people from Albania and from lots of states that wasn't able to stay because they didn't have the acute need that the others had.
Mm.
So the most of them came from the war, and most of them had still families still
Yeah.
there in their country. And so the biggest thing was to help them stay in a condition that they could hold themselves when their family had this place, and they don't get the decision this week to be able to stay and to bring their family, and not next week, and all this
Mm.
waiting and hearing about what's happening on the news. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Can you tell me some of the stories that you'd heard that really stood out to you by some of the refugees?
One of them that many of them had is, they travel over with a boat, small boats in rough waters, and no one of them could swim. They didn't know how to swim, and this travel over are so traumatizing. People from Iran that came through walking with guides over the mountains days, when one of the ones that wanted to escape didn't wasn't able any longer. The one that took them over killed them, because they will not make any
Mm.
they will not make any trace after them. And then they were taken into small cars over each other, over the borders, and hopefully will not be caught. And they had so I think the travel over to come to Sweden was the worst
Yeah.
ever.
It's so crazy to think that we still have a world where people are still going through this every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
And
You
then we
know?
see, when if they wanted to buy a airplane ticket, as we can have an airplane ticket for nothing, but for
Mm.
them they cost like over $100,
Yeah.
because they are so corrupted everywhere.
Mm. What were the some of the resources that you found difficult to sort of provide or cater for them that they needed?
Absolutely. Still, I mean, this started 2013, and ended our camp 1917, and still the integration, because our politicians and the society didn't have a ground to really have the open arms that they that the politicians said that we will have.
Mm.
First of all, we didn't have apartments to everyone. Of course, the
Oh,
building
yeah.
industry should start at once, but it started when everyone was there, not having any place to
Right.
stay in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything was delayed. And what still is that Swedish people, we live in a cold country, and we don't have this family life that most of that America has a big family life, and I guess many countries, but this Scandinavian life is more
It's very
individual,
individual, yeah.
and
Yeah.
so we don't have those places. If we have lots of interest, always we have lots of interest to get more knowledge about things, and we have our kids are brought to different activities every day, but we don't have these arenas where family meet each other,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have the natural places for integration
Yeah.
because we are so different in our mentality and
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
all.
What about in terms of like when they were transitioning out and have got their documentation to be able to live there, then it's about integrating into life in Sweden, getting
Yeah,
jobs, enrolling
yeah.
in schools, getting houses, just getting on with life. That also must be extremely difficult for them. What was
Yes, and also, the women were kept in the houses still because in their culture they had this family life and everyone was taking care of the kids together, and the women were there and had their inner society that wasn't including men, and the men had their society and not included women. Also, when they came to Sweden, the women were so much more isolated than they were before in their country because they could be only at their home, and they had lots of people being with and having life together with, and now they were just alone there, and their religion maybe sometimes didn't want them to come out in the society, so it's also some big gap to want to learn Swedish and to want to go out into the society.
No, that's so true. I mean, because again, religion
Mm.
is such a massive part of this as well. And
Mm.
their religion is their lifestyle. And so
Mm.
it dictates what they wear, whether they
Yeah,
can, be educated, get jobs. Probably many of them were not even educated, the women. And so,
yeah,
let alone learning Swedish, they didn't have the qualifications necessary, especially in Sweden, where you have to be qualified to get a good job.
yeah.
Everyone there is extremely,
And in
so
Sweden, we have so many people who are out of job that have so much education. So it's, I don't know
yeah, that's
how we
true
should
too. Yeah.
start because our young people, they have hard to get jobs. Even the people who know Swedish, who knows English,
Yeah.
who had an education. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
again about the divine duality, because I believe all came, and I wrote about it in my first book, This Creative Existence, Unfolding a New Conscious World, about this like collapse of the society. It's the new start of another way of using duality. And it created, or duality has come to its outmost outer part, and will just transcend because it has to, and it will be lots of chaos, but it will be so much of wonder. And if we focus on the wonder of life, there's always a path. I'm
Yeah.
really a person that can see it from my life of how I will live there. Oh, always.
Well, tell us about your work right now and your book.
Okay, my three books.
Yeah.
I think they are in interplay because my first book, This Creative Existence, Unfolding a New Conscious World, it was a deep dive, and where I had 3 years of coming deeper and deeper into the level of existence in my own experience and knowledge. And it was not after I start to understand it, that I was channeling it when my pen was going and writing lots of things that I absolutely didn't know, So it was a transcendence in itself to write. So I can really tell people, start to journal and do writing, and
Yeah.
things will happen with you. Anyway, that deep book is so deep with insights about everything, but it's so deep so that people are having a kind of a hard time to come through it. It's like one day being in one page, and 1 week being in that page,
Yeah.
coming to next one.
Yeah, exactly.
But but it has all the energy, and it's really fantastic. Well, I feel it's my main book because I understood that it was too much for people to come into their field. I wrote a dream state where you where you create your life, and it's like a film. So it's short and more pictures. The other also lots of pictures, but and beautiful. But this is like more like a short film that you can read in half an hour or shorter. But people were just seeing the pictures. So then it's that, oh, beautiful pictures, because so I start to understand that, okay, I have to start to work with the filters around people to be able to reach out with what I feel would be such a gift for anyone that take it. So that was my start with doing healing works. My books led me to the sound, to understand that sound is the core of creation, and where we really start to create our lives. So I started with it from those books, and the latest book, Unfolding, it's Awakening Your Pure Potential. It's more a practical book of the same. And the more I work in my retreats or being holding retreats and meeting people, it's also have evolved from that book. So it's all in evolution all the time. So my work is a lot, like speak to you, to try to spread it, and to heal what needs to be healed, to be able to transmute in this crucial time. So my work is to teach logically about these filters that we have, and how the worldview creates us instead of we creating our worldview if we don't do it consciously. And the healing work it's so many different layers of healing work that I'm doing, but very much it's with sound, and sound is so important. If we see creation from its start, everything starts with sound. It's like the breath. From the sound of the breath comes movements and colors. And later in the atmosphere, in the unseen world, it starts to make sematics, the forms of sounds in matter. But it's not matter, but we can see it in matter. It starts to make sematics, and then they start to find each other like atoms and electrons and protons, and to start to come into more form, and then they come into materia. So in our earth, so our humanity is only these 3-4 lower bodies: our physical body, our mental body, our emotional body, and energetic body. But we exist in all those different frequencies from source. That's why we are connected and can connect to everything. We can connect to a blade of grass and be the blade of grass and get energy and nutrition from just viewing it, if we take it in, because we are connected with everything that we need, actually, if we take it from inside. So all of these places exist within us, all these places from creation that we don't see or can touch or can think about. But when we start to be able to see a worldview wider than the present drama around us, wonder is totally natural for us to get into the wonder of existence and to start to play new roles in life.
Very Buddhist in a way.
It is in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember reading a book about this, Buddha and his enlightenment and his whole journey to enlightenment, and how it even talked about that blade of grass. He talked about, again, a lot of it was about removing that ego and being in whatever element that he was looking at or experiencing, how he melted into the ground when he was meditating, and how he kind of just removed himself from his physical state and was one with a thought or a feeling kind of like around him. That's amazing.
But it's also the other part, because we live in duality. I think it's so important to lose our identity to come into new, but at the same time, when I was in my most worst life scenarios, I had to create to understand my identity, to make borders, to say I'm not that bad word, I am another one than you describe. I am. So we start to also in times we need our identity, and to really feel proud of in our identity. It's the duality is so important to establish and get loose, and establish and get loose. It's like when I didn't have any money when I escaped, because I was also taken away the money from my daughter's father and everything. I was like minus, but so I had to use all creativity to manage how to survive with my daughter, and to grow my own plants, to find materials to repair the house that I got after some years, all the creativity. And then at a certain level, I got one level more of money. And then I had to get loose of all the what I learned from not spending one penny on anything extra, everything that made me more contracting. When I have to relearn to just do like that with a penny, and to give away, and then again a new level comes. So I think duality is really about claiming a new state and leaving it, claiming a new state and leaving it again.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's amazing. Inaya, thank you so much for sharing such beautiful insight and such practical tools as well. If you enjoyed the episode and would like to help support the show, please follow and subscribe. You can rate and review your feedback on any of our platforms listed in the description. I'd like to recognize our guests who are vulnerable and open to share their life experiences with us. Thank you for showing us we're human. Also, a thank you to our team who worked so hard behind the scenes to make it happen.
Chris Trzynski, Stefan Menzel.
The show would be nothing without you. I'm Jenica, host and writer of the show, and you're listening to Multispective.